If you own or think you might want to buy a 700,000 plus home around Chattanooga, you need to hear this number. In the last 8 days, 1 in 9 luxury listings cut their price. Not in a year, in 8 days. And here's the important part. This is the first week I've been able to measure the rate of cutting instead of just the total. 11.5%. Now, I don't know yet if that's a high or normal. I will know in about 8 days from now. And what I can tell you right now is who's cutting shallow, who's cutting deep, and which submarkets are quietly turning into an opportunity for the kind of stupid tax we talked about in my last video. Stay with me for a few minutes and I'll show you who is overexposed, which pockets are still absorbing, and what this means if you're bringing big equity in from California, the Midwest, or in the other high tax states. This report is simple. I use the MLS data to examine the 700 plus price band, all active luxury listings, who has reduced, how long they've sat, and which counties and neighborhoods are moving and which ones are choking. Then I layer on who is actually moving here and what they're still willing to pay. Most real estate content stops at inventory is up, rates are high, and prices are soft. But here, you're going to get a ranked story of where the adjustment is happening and who can use it. For months, the share of luxury listings with a price cut sat around 43%. And for the last few months, that looked like a plateau. But this export report moved to 45.1%. But the more important number is the flow of the increase. And this is important because I can track the same 374 listings across exactly 8 days. And I know that 43 of them cut price in that window. 22 of those were cutting for at least the second time, and 21 cut for the first time. Now, here's a nuance almost everyone misses. The median cut was only 2.3%. And on a $989,000 house, that's about $23,000. It's not a capitulation, it's a nibble. And half the sellers who cut have barely moved. And at the same time, the sell band, 90 to 180 days on market, has swollen again to 28%. Inventory is migrating into stillness faster than it's clearing. And put that together and you get a simple, testable forecast. Most of these cuts are not deep enough yet. And either they get deeper or the sell band keeps growing. And we'll see which in my next export report. Now, if everything was falling apart, you'd expect people to be leaving Chattanooga, but they're not. The broader Chattanooga metro is still growing faster than the rest of the country and is on track to cross 600,000 people this year. Almost all of that growth is net in migration from the rest of Tennessee, from California, and in meaningful numbers from Illinois, Florida, and Georgia. Locally, median household income is in the low to mid 70K range. And that keeps the overall market healthy, but it doesn't help clear seven-figure homes by itself. The people who clear this segment come from two places. A small upper tail here earning well into six figures, and high equity relocators selling a more expensive house somewhere else and buying $1 million or more home here, often with far less debt. So demand hasn't vanished. It's just thinner and much more disciplined than a lot of the current sellers are priced for in this market. So now let's layer in the rates. 30-year conventional money is still in the mid sixes. Jumbo financing on a 1.4 million purchase is hovering in the high sixes, depending on your profile and your lender. But more important than the level is the direction. Since late February, rates have drifted up 0.6 percentage points. And that's painful for anyone trying to finance most of the purchase. And it keeps a lot of would-be move-up sellers locked into old 3% mortgages. If you're coming in with real equity and income from a high-cost state, that kind of pain is your edge. You're competing against a smaller local finance pool inside a market where almost half the sellers have already admitted that their first idea of value was wrong. And the mistake now is behaving like it's 2021 and chasing anything with a view. The second mistake is acting like it's 2009 and assuming that you can still everything. But the truth is in the middle. Specific houses and specific submarkets are objectively misaligned with the buyer pool, and those are the ones that you should see first. The same in migrants have a different absorption. Don't read Bradley at a discount. 7 straight reads at half reduced or worse. That's not a sell, that's Bradley's clearing price. Just over half its luxury listings have already cut. Hamilton runs high 30s to low 40s, and Hamilton is the market. 3 out of 4 listings in this whole study. The share that's cut price has gone up every single time I've pulled it 33, 35, 38, and 44%. And that's not a range, that's one direction, 4 straight reads. So when I say that the Chattanooga luxury market is softening, I'm not talking about edge cases, I'm talking about the middle. Now, Marion, Jasper Highlands, Crown Harbor. This is still the counter story on every metric. Lowest share reduced, lowest weekly cut rate, and faster days on market. Its product and positioning are matching the equity that's actually arriving. Bradley and Sequatchie are asking the same buyers to accept longer timelines and deeper concessions. Now, the one that everyone cares about is Signal Mountain. Average days on market have climbed from the 40s into the low 80s on the listings that are still active. And in the last 8 days, the share of Signal listings with a price cut jumped from 54% to 65%. And that's 2 out of 3 are now reduced. That is a pricing correction in a submarket with sustained demand. It's not a desirability collapse. It's still 40 plus listings deep. But if you walk in thinking that Signal is premium and therefore safe, you're paying for a safety premium the data says has already been spent. The flip side, that is Hixson. Hixson posted 12 luxury listings in this report. 3 of them are 2 to 4 days old. And the other 9, the carryover stock, average about 49 days on market. And none of the 12 have cut price yet. In a market where 45% have cut, 9 older listings with 0 reductions, and an adjusted days on market under 50, this is the single most interesting velocity signal that we've got. Look at the cumulative cuts. Original list price today. Bentley Park in Cleveland is down 37.5%. Another Cleveland address is down 32.6%. Raccoon Mountain Estates in Chattanooga is down 27%. Forest Park on Signal Mountain is down 23.2%. Applewood on Signal is down 19%. Thunder Farms, Deer Ridge, and a Harrison listing are all sitting in that 15 to 20% band. These are not fringe properties. They're the stuff that people are actually touring. Now, zoom into this week only. On the 8-day interval, the single deepest fresh cut in the entire data set was River Gorge Ranch in Guild, Marion County, down 14.3% in one move. And that matters. Marion is still the healthiest county in the aggregate, but even there you have individual sellers taking a double-digit haircut in a single week. County level health does not mean property level safety. And as for why all this cutting is happening, 2 forces seem to be at play here, and both fit the data. One is higher jumbo rates thinning the financed buyer pool, especially in the $700 to $1.5 million band. And the second thing is Hamilton County's 2025 reappraisal, which raised residential values about 59% countywide, and sent a lot of owners a letter effectively telling them their place was worth dramatically more than 4 years earlier. That may have anchored seller expectations above the 2026 market and what it's actually willing to clear. So here's one clue in the data. If reappraisal anchoring were the whole story, Hamilton should be the worst county, but it isn't. Bradley and Sequatchie have even higher cut shares and longer days on market without that Hamilton County specific event. So rates and simple oversupply are clearly in the mix too. And right now, both explanations are a hypothesis. There's a simple test sitting in the report. Look at the cut rates by price band. If it's mostly about rates, we should see cuts cluster in the finance bands and thin out above 2 million. If it's mostly about anchoring and oversupply, the cut rates should be flatter across price bands. And I'll be looking at that analysis in the next report next week. But until then, treat the mechanism as open and the cuts as real. Zoom all the way out. If you're coming from California or from high tax pockets like Fairfield County or Westchester, you're not moving here for some abstract top tax bracket. On a 400,000 plus income, you're saving tens of thousands a year in state income tax alone, plus a property tax drop that depends on where you actually land here in Chattanooga. Migration data says that California and Illinois are the big volume feeders. Those Northeast enclaves may send a few other households, but the tax gap per household is even more extreme. Either way, the arbitrage is still intact. What has changed is that the market is finally disciplining the inventory that pretended that 2021 would last forever. So you get 2026 pricing with 2020's level cost of living math and a market where most people are still reading headlines and not balance sheets. If you want to see exactly how this applies to your move, that's what the Broadstone Diagnostic is for. It is a structured session where we take your timeline, your equity, and your tolerance list and then map them against this actual data and then give you a precise plan for where to buy and what to avoid so that you don't pay the stupid tax on a seven-figure decision. That link is in the description. I'm Kelly Bridenstine.